Sheridan Avenue. Additionally, two of the defendants, Omar Gilliam and Stephen Oliver, are each charged with firearms trafficking and possessing a firearm as a prohibited person, as each had prior felony convictions. Specifically, beginning in August of 2025, ATF used a confidential informant to buy narcotics from several members of the DTO, including Gilliam, Washington, an individual named Kevin Harris, and Daryl Washington Coates. In October of 2025, ATF then used a second confidential informant to continue buying narcotics from those DTO members. Then in December of 2025, the informant began purchasing narcotics and firearms from an additional individual, Stephen Oliver. In January of 2026, the informant then began conducting controlled purchases from the fifth defendant and DTO member, Darren Farmer. And finally, in March of 2026, the confidential informant purchased firearms from Gilliam, all in the Sheridan Avenue 500 block area. Two of those purchases from Gilliam included firearms, but there were a total of 15 controlled purchases. Of those 15 purchases, Washington Coates participated in approximately 7, and Harris participated in 1. In addition, law enforcement conducted 8 controlled purchases from Oliver, along with 2 separate controlled purchases of firearms and 3 controlled purchases from Farmer, some of which involved both Gilliam and Harris. Ultimately, on April 8th, during a coordinated arrest and search warrant operation, ATF and BPD executed federal search warrants at various residences and stash locations in Baltimore City and Baltimore County, which resulted in the arrest of 4 of the 5 defendants and the seizure of additional firearms and controlled substances. The 5th defendant, Mr. Farmer, was taken into custody earlier today. Additionally, 3 other individuals have been charged in Baltimore City for illegal firearms possession and possession with intent to distribute controlled substances. These charges are the result of tireless investigative work. I want to commend the agents and officers from ATF and BPD, as well as the prosecutors in my office and our partners at the state's attorney's office for their dedication and coordination. This kind of collaboration is essential to identifying the most dangerous individuals and building impactful cases. I also want to emphasize that these are just allegations. Each defendant is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. Today's announcement reflects our continued commitment to making Baltimore and all of Maryland safer. We will continue to work side by side with our partners to disrupt criminal activity and deliver justice for the communities we serve. This case is a powerful example of what we can accomplish when we work together with a shared commitment to public safety. Thank you. I will now turn it over to ATF's Special Agent in Charge, Chuck Dorer, for additional remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chuck Dorer. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for ATF in the Baltimore Field Division. I want to thank you, Kelly Hayes, State's Attorney Ivan Bates, and Commissioner Worley, as well as Baltimore County for the collaboration on this case. This case began in August of 2025 when an ATF Baltimore group teamed up with the Baltimore City Police Department for a joint investigation to a violent drug trafficking organization in the 500 block of Sheridan Avenue in Baltimore. Using controlled purchases, surveillance, crime gun intelligence, and other means, we were able to establish probable cause to arrest 5 individuals, as well as serve search warrants at multiple locations, to include several on 500 block of Sheridan Avenue. Those resulted in the seizure of firearms and narcotics. Additionally, the 5 people were charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine, or I should say controlled substances, firearms trafficking, and possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. ATF remains firmly committed to holding the most violent offenders accountable. This case sends a message. If you engage in acts of violence or armed drug trafficking, ATF will be coming after you. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Worley.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. This successful takedown once again demonstrates what we can achieve when we work together to address violent crime and dismantling drug trafficking organizations. I want to begin by expressing my sincere thanks to the men and women of the Baltimore Police Department, especially our Northern District Action Team, some of whom are here today, Detective Sergeant Wallace and Detective Gregg, along with their captain, Captain Rotel. I also want to thank Mayor Scott, U.S. Attorney Hayes, all of our federal, state, and local partners for their continued collaboration and commitment to making our city and our region safer. We remain united in our efforts to disrupt and dismantle these criminal organizations and open-air drug markets. Many of the suspects associated with the group have prior arrests, including one individual who was previously charged with a murder. As part of this investigation, as you heard, officers seized a significant number of firearms, ammunition, and illegal drugs. The joint effort undoubtedly saves lives and ensures that violent offenders are held accountable for their actions. Together, we're making Baltimore a safer place for all and send a clear message that this kind of criminal activity will not be tolerated in our city. Thank you. At this time, I will turn it over to our partner, State's Attorney Ivan Bates.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Commissioner Worley, for that nice introduction. Once again, I want to acknowledge all of our law enforcement partners, U.S. Attorney Kelly Hayes, Special Agent in Charge Charles Doerr from the ATF Baltimore, Commissioner Richard Worley, Baltimore Police Department, and our partners in Baltimore County. I want to thank everybody for standing up here today for the outstanding continued work, and it's all about working together. And that's what you see time and time again, the partnership. I also want to again acknowledge our partners, U.S. Marshals, who are unable to join us today, but are very important to the success of this entire operation. Takedowns are a clear example of what can be accomplished when agencies work together with a shared commitment toward public safety. Illegal drug trafficking fuels violence, which destabilizes the neighborhoods not only in Baltimore but throughout the state. These neighborhoods are then diminish the quality of life for the residents that we serve every single day. The presence of illegal firearms in connection with narcotics activities makes these cases more dangerous and more urgent. Our office is committed to holding those accountable who are charged in connection with this investigation. My prosecutor, Assistant State's Attorney Allison Rajic of our Firearm Drug Trafficking Unit, will prosecute a number of these defendants, and we look forward to doing that. This work sends a clear message. Those who traffic drugs, possess illegal firearms, and put our communities at risk will be held accountable. My office looks forward to pursuing these cases in court and continuing the work of making Baltimore neighborhoods safer for everyone. Once again, thank you. I'd like to turn this over to U.S. Attorney Kelly Hayes.
Thank you. While this is an ongoing case and investigation, we'll be limited in the number of questions or our ability to answer questions, but if any members have any questions, we're happy to take them. All right, thank you so much. Thank you.
Wait, no, I thought she was going.
Could you elaborate on Baltimore County's involvement in the takedown?
So we had multiple search warrants that were executed. Some of those locations were in Baltimore City and others were in Baltimore County.
I know Worley mentioned that one defendant was previously charged with murder. Who, and are the majority of these offenders repeat offenders? If you could elaborate.
So we're not able to elaborate too much on their prior convictions. I will note that 2 of the defendants have prior felony convictions and as such have been charged with unlawful possession of a firearm as a result of those prior felony convictions.
Does that speak to what you continue to see with repeat offenders in Baltimore City?
We are always going to focus our investigations on our most dangerous criminals in order to make the most impactful cases, and very frequently that is a factor is going to be their criminal history and whether or not they're repeat offenders.
There's a lot of references to violence. I don't believe there's acts of violence charged. Can you talk more about sort of how this group ties into any violence that you're seeing in that area?
I'll turn that question over to Special Agent in charge, Chuck Dorr.
During the investigation, there was actually a murder that took place in the 500 block of Sheridan Avenue, and that is part of our ongoing investigation.
Could somebody talk about the impact that this DTO had on the neighborhood itself and the regular citizens? Were they captive in their own homes? Anyone can help paint a picture?
Any drug trafficking organization is a hinder to the neighborhood. I worked this neighborhood in 2009, in 2008 when I was in the Northern District, and this same block was a problem back then. It's been historically a problem, and some of these arrests that we mentioned were long before this administration took over. So hopefully, with these arrests, we can prosecute these individuals and give that community some stabilization and some peace.
Now, there's an ongoing dialogue about how the city is addressing open-air drug markets. This case, I think, shows that it takes time, right? Can you talk about that?
It does, yeah. In order to address an open-air drug market, we could arrest drug dealers and drug users every single day if we want, but that doesn't. We fought that battle and we lost. For 20 years, we fought the drug battle. Now, if you want to dismantle a drug organization, you need to get the seller, the person he's buying it from, and the person that's distributed, and the person that's bringing it into the community. Then you get rid of the drug organization, because there's a dependency in the city that is far going to outweigh the demand. So if we need to treat those that are addicted to drugs to take away the demand, and then the supply won't be there.
How much actual heroin, crack cocaine, and fentanyl were seized?
So the controlled purchases involved amounts of each. Some of those are still undergoing testing in the lab, and so we have not yet quantified our exact numbers.
So you can't give like an exact, just an estimate. The currency that was pulled off the street, you can't do that.
Many of the quantities are set forth in the affidavit supporting the criminal complaint. Some have been tested through the laboratories. Some are still pending that testing. What I believe I can say is also during the execution of the search warrants, approximately 400 grams of additional narcotics and controlled substance or suspected controlled substances were also seized, along with additional firearms. Okay. Thank you so much. We appreciate you all being here.